Hello and a very warm welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the second episode of the series here, Convince Us, where we bring along someone from the world of F1 YouTube to tell us that they are right about a certain opinion. Let's see how today goes. We've done the first episode with Aldas. He was able to convince us, so there is massive pressure on our second guest, who is, of course, the lovely BefF1. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you for having me. I feel a lot of pressure, but I'm excited. I'm very good at arguing. So hopefully I'm going to do well here.
Well, that's why we've picked you out, you see. We knew you'd be the perfect guest for this. Just to go through the format before, if anyone hasn't seen the first episode, Beth has an opinion. We have no idea what that opinion is yet. It's a controversial one, and she has to convince us that she's right about it. And at the end of the episode, we'll give our verdict. If 2 out of 3 of us, or all 3 of us, agree with her, she wins. Doesn't win anything other than pride, but I think Beth's already alluded to the fact that that's very important. But if only one of us agree with her or none of us, then you go home a loser, I'm afraid. But hopefully that won't be the case. So without any further ado, what is your opinion, Beth?
Are you ready? Because I'm not sure you are.
I don't think I am ready.
I'm so pumped. So pumped for this.
Carlos Sainz will win a world championship at Ferrari and Leclerc will not.
Oh, I love the spice.
That is hot and spicy. That really is hot and spicy.
Explain yourself.
Yeah, Logus.
I have 15 points.
Yes!
I've got an essay. You're not ready for the heat.
Yeah.
Number 1. The man is still very young. He's still only 26. He is, I would argue, in the peak of his career. A lot of drivers, this is where we see quality content coming from them. Number 2. Man has talent. You cannot say Carlos Sainz does not have talent. He is quick. He is getting the good performances. I don't think you can really pick out a season with him where you'd be like, you know what? Man did not do well there. So, point number 3. This is his 4th team that he's competing with at just 26 years old. So he has absolutely heaps of experience with literally every other manufacturer besides Mercedes engine-wise. But he's been with Toro Rosso, he's been with Renault, he's been with McLaren, and now he's moving on to Ferrari. I don't think there's a better person on the grid that Ferrari could choose to be like, okay, so how do the other teams work? How does everyone else work? What about this part? What about that part? He's got a lot of experience that Ferrari so desperately need. And talking about Ferrari's struggles, point number 4. He is very clever with his big engineering brain. When he moved to McLaren, they were surprised that that Spanish man actually knew quite a lot on the engineering side, and he helped a lot with their woes. And you know who needs that? Ferrari. Ferrari have a lot of struggles. Ferrari have a lot of issues. What do they need? They need Carlos Sainz with his engineering brain to come and sort them out.
Love that.
Point number 5. The man has absolutely nothing to lose. He knows he's going to be there for 2 years and 2 years only. He's not going to get another year. We all know that. They want Mick in that team, whether Mick's doing well or not. They want that Schumacher dollar. So he knows he's got 2 years. So he's going to give it the most and give it absolutely everything. Because if he delivers the results, Ferrari literally can't fire him. They can't be like, oh, so you're beating Leclerc, sorry, you're out. They will give him the 2 years because who else are they going to put in the team? I don't think they'll put Mick in. They'll know if they put Mick in too early, then he could embarrass them and he could embarrass himself. So they're not going to do that. And point number 6, because he knows he's got nothing to lose and he knows he's out of Ferrari after 2022, he's not going to follow team orders. He's going to do whatever the hell he wants because he knows he's out, doesn't he? He knows he's not going to get another chance. So if they say, oh, can you pop behind Leclerc? No, he's not going to do that. He knows this is possibly his one chance at a top team. I say top team. So he's going to make the most out of it. Point number 7, 2022 regs. Absolutely anything can happen, lads. Anything could happen. We don't know. The amount of questions you guys have on the tip of your tongue. And you always know you will always get to the conclusion of, well, we'll just have to wait for 2022, won't we? Because no one knows the answer to anything. So, it could all sway back to Ferrari's ways. And who's going to pick up on it? Carlos Sainz. Number 8. He's continued to improve year on year. And trends suggest he will carry on improving. And he's not going to hit a wall. He's got a podium. He's got multiple podiums. What's next? A win. What's next? World Championship. You cannot tell me otherwise. Number 9. The man is quick, especially in the rain. So hopefully, it will get lucky and it'll be a very rainy season and Carlos Sainz will come out and he will deliver the results. Number 10. This man capitalises on moments when they arise. Think Brazil 2019. Think Italy 2020. When the moment arose, was Carlos Sainz there? Yes, he was. Was Charles Leclerc there? No, because Charles Leclerc clashed out of both of those races. He wasn't there, so he won't be there at the other ones. So he's going to get points on Charles there. Point number 11. He hasn't had a perfect season yet. He's often played with bad luck, which means he could finish much higher in the championship. So at one point, luck will be on his side. Luck will be there. And it will be when he is at Ferrari, probably in 2022. And point number 12. He looks good in red. That must mean something, doesn't it? He looks good in red. He looks good in those Ferrari colours. So that has to count for something. Number 13. He's got leadership skills from McLaren. And that is something Ferrari desperately need. Because is there a leader at Ferrari? No. Is there a team principal leader? No. I don't think Charles is a leader because look at the state of that car from this year. Absolutely awful. And I don't think Charles is leading them in the right direction. Number 14. He's in his 7th season of F1. Like I said earlier, he's in the peak of his career. He's got a lot of experience. It's his time to shine. If he's going to do it, this is the year. And then point number 15. He hasn't exactly had slow teammates and he's been close enough or on par with them or better. So he had Verstappen in his early years. He then had Kvyat. He then had Hulkenberg, which I know we all think, oh, Hulk, bless him. He couldn't do it most of the time. But when he was on his own game, he was all right. He was decent. And you had to be quite a competent driver to be better than Hulk. And then Lando Norris. He has equalled him pretty much in qualifying. But then on race day, he's just got that extra little bit of spice, which I think Charles's talent lies more in his qualifying. Charles is beautiful in his qualifying rounds. But you know if Carlos has not quite nailed it in qualifying, he will be there in the race and he will pick up the places and he will pick up the positions. And he will definitely be able to bring it to Charles. So yeah, those are my 15 points.
Oh,
I came with the points and an essay.
That was like a pyramid scheme. I feel like I've been sold.
Do you feel like you're here in the cult now? Carlos Sainz will win a World Drivers'
The Carlos
Championship.
cult. Wow.
Repeat it after me.
I mean, I know you've come prepared with 15 points there, although to be honest, you could have just led with the one that he looks good in red and just left it at that, because really that's convincing enough by itself.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Harry? What would you go back on with some of those points that have been raised?
Oh, Beth, I think it's ambitious that you think Ferrari are going to win a championship anytime soon, even in 2022. But no, look, I think there's some sensible opinions in there. I don't know whether it will be a championship, but I don't buy the idea that Sainz is going to come in this year and be the number 2 to Leclerc. Even if it might be the ambition of the team. I don't think Sainz will sit down and just let Leclerc run rings around him, because I don't think that will happen. I think it's going to be a real spicy fight, as you say. I think it's going to be proper spicy there. Does Sainz have the ability to win a world championship? That's really tricky. I'd say he was on a par with Verstappen at Toro Rosso back in the day, and we say Verstappen has world championship potential. So theoretically, Sainz has, world championship potential too. I think he just has to have the right car. Whether it would happen before Leclerc, this is tricky. This is spicier than Aldas is on. Sorry, Aldas, but episode number 2, spice has been brought.
It has.
What are your thoughts, Sam?
Well, it is muy caliente. That was Queen of Spice has entered the room. And I tell you what, I'm on the same thinking as Harry in the sense of it's actually more Ferrari themselves that concern me rather than Carlos Sainz. I can't pinpoint when I think that Ferrari are next going to be close to winning a championship, and I reckon it could be another decade before Ferrari get a proper shot at a championship. I don't know if Leclerc or Sainz will win a championship for regardless. But do I think that Sainz could beat Leclerc? Do I think he could be the closest one of the two? It's possible. The man is improving. I think Sainz is the most underrated top driver of the grid at the moment. I really think that people look past him. I said that I think Ferrari have got the best lineup going into the new season in our previous video that we did. I think that they just pip Red Bull, Mercedes and McLaren as the best other lineups. I think Ferrari have got it nailed. It's the car for me. The car is the issue. Leclerc has had the time there as well, and I think short term rather, Leclerc will have the better of Sainz. I know Sainz has moved around, but I just think that Leclerc has a real bond with that Ferrari team already. They get him, they work with him. The language barrier, I don't think it's really a problem. Sainz is Spanish, he speaks Italian, but still, I think it blends. But in the long term, do I think that Sainz has got the ability to go on and beat Leclerc? I think you've got 5 years. I think that's it. I think by that point, Sainz starts to drop off when he hits his kind of early 30s. I shall give you my response right at the very end. But you've brought some magnificent points. I'll be interested to know what our viewers think in the comments. So get down, let us know in the comments. Has BefF1 over here convinced you with a spicy points? So now we go over to Carlos Sainz hater and God Leclerc lover, Ben Hocking.
I find it fascinating that I'm a Carlos Sainz hater. I used to be the one basically like peddling the fact that Carlos Sainz was underrated, and I think Carlos Sainz is very talented. I have to say, when you said at the beginning, I've got 15 points on why Carlos Sainz is going to get there before Leclerc, I was like, wow, she's going to be stretching after 4. Where on earth are these 15 going to come from? So I give you full credit for actually going for all 15 and having very unique points throughout. And I do agree, I think there were some really good ones raised in there. For me, one of the... I'll start with the team in terms of Ferrari and whether they could achieve it rather than look at the Leclerc versus Sainz thing, which I'll leave to one side for the second. Ferrari themselves, is 2022 going to be that major factor? You said we don't know, anything could happen, and I agree with that. I don't think anyone truly knows what's going to happen in 2022. Look at the last time we had such a major revamp of the rules. 2013, you went from Vettel winning double-digit races in a row, breaking the record, to the next season not getting a sniff because Mercedes are so good that they dominate. It wasn't just a shift in power from 2013 to 2014, it was a humongous shift of power. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility that we could see something like that. And ultimately, Ferrari's overall investment, the amount that they spend in the sport, that isn't going to keep them down forever. Eventually the money will show, and they'll be back at least roughly where they were, last season. 2 seasons ago now, I guess. One of the things that concerns me about Carlos Sainz versus Charles Leclerc, because I think a few of the points you made there are not necessarily exclusive to Carlos Sainz, as in Carlos Sainz is only 26, correct? Charles Leclerc's even younger than that. And there's a few of the other ones as well. One of the things that concerns me is that Charles Leclerc is pretty embedded in that team. And Carlos Sainz needs to perform early. And you raised that point yourself, knowing that Mick Schumacher's waiting in the wings. And if he doesn't perform early on, he's going to be out the door. He needs to prove that he's not a placeholder. And what happened at Renault concerns me a bit. He moves to Renault, he goes up against Nico Hülkenberg, he doesn't hit the ground running. And he's always referenced throughout his career that he hasn't been able to, get adjusted to teams quick enough. And when he's embedded in that team, that's where his best performances come out. He might not have the luxury of that time. That's probably the thing that concerns me the most. Any final comments to maybe just give us that last point to convince us before we decide, Beth?
Okay. Right. Everyone put your tinfoil hats on. You've just got to think, and I've been thinking about this for a long time, okay? How good already is Carlos Sainz's autobiography? Whack a World Drivers' Championship on top of that with Ferrari out of nowhere. Look, it's there. It's ready to be written. There's absolutely no reason why this man will not win a World Drivers' Championship, because that's the last thing he needs to finish his autobiography ready for us all to read in the years to come. I've got it on pre-order already. I just want to let you all know that.
Love it.
I love
so
that.
What's
it's
the
writing
title
itself.
of the book?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's just Smooth Operator. Because
done.
Done. Because everyone will look at his career and you know what Carlos is like. I look back at his career and I will look forward to his career, and then his career will end, and I'll look back and I'll be like, how did he do that? Like, how has he had this career? And how did he manage to go from team to team and do this, that, and whatnot and everything? Like, he is a smooth operator. It's simple as that. So that is my final point, is that it is quite simply written in destiny that he will get a World Drivers' Championship.
That's a great point.
Alternative title, if he does win a World Championship, is The Signs Were Always There.
He stole my joke from 3 years ago. I hate him.
It's right there. So, just to clarify, final point from Beth is motivation due to increased book sales.
Yes.
Good stuff. Let's go over to Harry first of all. Harry, has Beth convinced you that she's right?
I think there's some very valid points in your arguments, your 15 arguments, 16 including the book one. It's my doubts about Ferrari. I don't think I can call it. I think Sainz and Leclerc are going to be so close, and maybe Sainz will beat him. But whether that's to a World Championship, I'm going to go with no, and that's only because of my lack of faith in the red team. Unfortunately, I am sorry. It's my first disagreement of the series.
It's only the second episode.
Wow. Sam, agree, disagree?
I'm going to look past the Ferrari issue because we can't take that into account, and I'm going to see this as who is going to be the top driver to come. And I was already a little bit on the fence anyway, and you know what? I think Sainz can bring it, and I think you've tilted me a little bit that I can see it happening. I can see Sainz in the second season going for it, so you know what? You have convinced me. You have. You've done the business. And I want to read the book. It's on pre-order.
Exactly.
That's fair enough. So the way in which it worked in the first episode was that these two disagreed. Actually, the other way round that time. So I had the deciding vote, and it went in Aldous' favour, so he won. I'm afraid it's not going to go the same way here.
Wow.
Oh.
And I'm even going to do the same thing as Sam and put the Ferrari thing out of the equation as to whether they can win a World Championship. I flat out don't believe he can beat Charles Leclerc.
Whatever.
No, I think Charles Leclerc is an elite driver. I don't think Carlos Sainz is an elite driver. I don't know. He has bounced around teams, so he has got experience. But I mean, if I'm going for a job interview and I've said I've been in 5 jobs in the last 2 years, I don't think that's being viewed as a positive. And in fairness, he has left McLaren on his own volition, so that might be a bit unfair. But I do think he is a very talented driver, but I think Charles Leclerc has done such a good job of going in against Sebastian Vettel of all people, flipping the narrative there. Vettel was the number 1 driver, Leclerc was the number 2 driver. Leclerc had the skill to basically turn that around. He's their future. He's signed up for a couple more years. I don't know whether Ferrari see him as a placeholder or not. Regardless of whether Carlos Sainz can turn that around, I still don't think it would be enough to beat Leclerc. So, sorry.
Well, me and Sam will be at Carlos's VIP book signing.
Yeah, see you later.
In the future, you will not be invited when he wins the World Drivers' Championship and we get those VIP tickets.
I can't wait.
Supporting him.
And that's good consolation. That's good consolation, right? You'll be there in Spain in a private party, and me and Harry will be amongst the masses in Waterstones trying to get a copy. So,
please wear body cams. Please wear body cams so I can watch you running around Waterstones together. That is content that only I need to see.
Yeah, that's not making it to the channel. Anyway, thank you very much for appearing, Beth. We'll leave your channel description and everything so they can check you out. You do some great videos about some stuff that people don't want to talk about. You bring your views there as much as you've done here as well. So thank you so much for coming along today. And until next time, keep braking late.